Hello, wonderful people. Welcome. Today we're talking about subtracting words. Subtracting words, that's right. That might seem a little strange, but if you recall, this is part of the Cello series, and this is Cello series number 5. And we usually have a pattern each week of doing something ritual, something that we subtract, and something that we add. And this week we're doing words. So our ritual words was earlier this week, and that was about adding the words, what am I learning right now? That puts us in the mindset of learning goal, that increases our ability to do things. It decreases the stakes. So that's a little bit of adding words as a ritual. But today we're doing subtracting. And then on Friday, we're going to be doing adding words. Subtracting words. You might even think, why is Senia doing a whole session on subtracting words? What does that mean? Words aren't math. What is this? When we subtract words, we give the opportunity for that space to be filled up with something else. I'll read you a quote by a good friend of mine, Catherine Britton. It's on my wall, so I'm going to look over to the wall. She says, when you do too much, other people don't discover ways they could fill those spaces. And when you have too many words of a certain kind, other words can't quite fit in. So let me tell you what words specifically I suggest that you remove from your repertoire, and later we'll talk about what words to add. But first, an interruption from my child. Hi there, I'm broadcasting. I'll see you in just a little bit. And so, let's continue. The next thing that we're going to do is to talk about why the Cello series at all. One of you sees my child who you know and says hi. Great. Okay, so check this out. So check this out. You know that I'm following this series by Kason Brown, who's a cello instructor and has some videos online. And one of the first things he says, I'm holding the cello wrong, but that's just to demonstrate so you can see it on the screen, is he says, practice this, the following, what I'm about to show you. Practice this 80 to 90 times. So do 20 a day. And he says by the time his students get to about 80 or 90, they've got it. So here's the thing, and it's super hard to practice, and I'll tell you why I don't practice only this, but here's the thing. From the cello world, making an analogy to us in the business and in the life world and how we can coach ourselves. All right, so cello skill, you've got these 4 places that you need to put your fingers, but you need to put them there without ever looking. So imagine the cello standing up straight. So the skill is literally this. That, you see I'm still off, that, he calls it catapulting. So catapulting your fingers exactly onto the spots where they need to be, because soon I won't have these little gold stars and tapes on my cello. And so I need to be able to do that without even looking. So as I gently lower the cello and continue this extremely smoothly, and I care about this cello, so I want to set it down straight. What is that about? Practicing that catapulting skill, that you can do it on your arm, of course, but just on anything, catapulting to the right place. That's a practice. But like I've told you, the person that I follow, Kason Brown, in his cello videos, in addition to lessons that I'm starting to take. And again, as a reminder, I'm on week 2 of cello lessons because my kids take string instruments lessons. Kason Brown says, hey, you have to do this. You want to get better at cello? You want to play Twinkle Twinkle? You want to play Minuet No. 2 by Bach? You have to first do this catapult again and again and again and again. So similarly, I invite you to subtract words. Subtracting words means deciding what you want to be going on in your head. And there's, you've probably seen this book, The 12 Rules of Life, but one of the chapters in that book is speak to yourself, treat yourself at least as well as or better than you treat your pet. We take care of our pets completely. We take them to the veterinarian when they need it. We give them things that they need at regular periods when they need it, like a vitamin or something else. And sometimes we forget to do that for ourselves. We forget to get enough sleep, or we forget to do other things that are for ourselves. So similarly, what words can you subtract? And a lot of coaches will say to you, hey, the way that you're speaking to yourself, is that the way that you would speak to a close friend or to a child that you care about? So let me summarize really briefly what the kinds of ways are that you can subtract from your language. You can subtract words that call yourself names, even if it's goofy names like, oh, that was dumb or that was stupid. So in our house, we call that the D word and the S word. And there's no benefit to that. but I'll give you two alternatives. So two alternatives are silly, and another alternative is Ben Zanders, how marvelous. Like, I've made a mistake, how marvelous. What am I learning from that? So silly, I do this all the time. And I learned this from one of my kids' nannies when they were little. It's, I make a mistake. Oh, silly, Senia. Why did I do that? Or what happened there? So that's curiosity. That's asking questions. So what am I subtracting? I'm subtracting calling myself names, saying, oh, it's not really working on the cello. I've been at it for 2 weeks and I'm still making tiny, tiny sounds. Similarly, you have a business goal. You have a life goal. Don't call yourselves these names that are easy to come to tongue. Call yourself something like silly. Oh, that was silly of me. I forgot to put my shoes by the door and didn't go out for my morning walk. How silly of me. Or Ben Zanders, oh, I forgot to put the shoes there. How marvelous. What am I learning from this? How marvelous. I always shrink down when you see this just because of the angle of the camera. But these are ways to change the pattern. We usually have as a pattern when things aren't working, we'll start talking to ourselves and say, you did this to ourselves, or you did that. So how can we break this pattern? What can we do to break this pattern? So I suggest two options. Silly, silly, Senia, or how marvelous. So just something that is different. That's a different way of reacting to when things are not going well. So similar to how right now on the cello, I need to do these catapults again and again. And I need to subtract all that other fun stuff like learning Twinkle Twinkle and Aunt Rhody. Instead of that, I really need to practice this so I can do that other stuff. Similarly, you really need to subtract this language and replace it with, how curious, how marvelous, how silly. Today is a short episode because it's about subtracting words, and so it should be short, as this is short. I invite you to subtract some words today. I invite you to play with that. We look forward to seeing you next time. I super look forward to seeing you next time when we're going to be talking about adding words, and that'll be on Friday. I also want to invite you, I'm really excited about tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a former executive from Logitech. He was a senior vice president at Logitech, Joe Sullivan, with Joe's Top 5. They're super. They're his leadership mantras, his leadership lessons and principles that he's learned and developed over time. I'm a big fan of Joe Sullivan, who is now an executive coach, and have been a fan of him for a while. So I'm really delighted that he'll be on the show tomorrow with Joe's Top 5. See you tomorrow at 11 a.m. or any day, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. See you soon.